Hi everybody, it is Sherry Ricciardi, and you guys come to this page or maybe to my YouTube channel all the time to learn how to do some cool DIY recipes to turn your home non-toxic, and to learn how to love essential oils, because that's what I love to teach people. But it occurred to me that some of you may not know how I came to be in this place. How did I come to be teaching this stuff? How did I get to this place in life where this is my purpose and my mission? So in order to fill you in on how I got to be here, I have to take you backwards a little bit. I have to take you back not quite 10 years, maybe 8 or 9 years, to the Sherry that I was before, in order to explain to you how I became the Sherry that you guys see in front of you today. So I am a certified life coach, and I have been for probably about 15 years now. And the interesting thing about being a certified life coach, it does not mean that you always can recognize everything going on in your own world. Most life coaches are really, really good and adept at giving people advice and giving them sound structure on how to get unstuck from a certain situation, how to find more joy in life. But when it comes to ourselves, we don't always recognize what's going on around us until we have good friends that point us out. We have the tools, but sometimes we're just in a bit of denial. We're just human, just like everybody else. So at this point in time, I was in a different marriage, and I always say that I have had a very magical life, and I've been very blessed, and things are magical until you wake up one day and they're not magical anymore. And I've always been an overachiever. I've always been a little bit of a perfectionist. I've always been a very confident person, confident in my ability to handle, to fix, to solve any problem. So when my previous marriage started going awry, and I realized that I alone did not have the tools to fix that, that was a really difficult time for me. And you know, nobody gets married because they're planning on getting divorced. That's the moral of the story. And to me, I probably knew at the time what was coming, but I just could not accept the failure of it. And I tried, and I stayed probably longer than I should. And during that time, I got really, really sick. So let me just explain to you a little bit what that looked like for me. They thought I had a really bad case of mono. My normal energetic self was in bed the majority of the day. I had zero energy. I slept all the time, and I had 3 fairly young children. They weren't little, but they were young enough that they needed their mom, and I was really sick. So I got diagnosed with an autoimmune liver disorder, and that was a really scary time. That was a really, really scary time for me for a couple of reasons. One, I wasn't having any control over what was going on in my own body at that time. And two, my first visits to regular mainstream doctors did not really predict a very positive future for me. They were talking about lifelong medications. They were talking about frequent hospitalizations. My liver was essentially shutting down. And keep in mind, I've never been a big drinker, so that didn't have anything to do with it. To my knowledge, I had not been exposed to anything at that point that would make my liver sick. So that was a really scary time for me. And, you know, I think you have to experience real sickness sometimes in order to truly appreciate wellness. And I remember laying in bed, and everything looked very dismal and dark. And there was not a lot of hope at that point. And I, for some reason, flashed back to when I was about 18 or 19 years old, and I went and I had my palm read. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. It was one of those fun things that I decided to do all on my own. I went all by myself. I found this little old wrinkled, adorable, sort of gnarly looking woman who looked like she had the wisdom of the ages about her. And I asked her to read my palm. That was what she did. That was her profession. That was her purpose in this world. And I remembered for some reason laying in bed that she talked about my life having two halves and that my lifeline was long. That was very important for me to know in that moment when they were talking really horrible talk, okay? She told me my lifeline was long, but at some point there would be a divergence and I would have the first half of a life and then I would have the second half of a life. So for some reason that gave me inspired hope as I was laying there. And when you're sick, you will bargain with God. You will bargain with just about anyone if you can just have wellness once again. And so I remember laying in bed, talking to the divine and saying, just get me better. And I promise I will make my life different. I promise I will get out of this unhappy relationship. I will find true happiness again. Just give me the chance and I will do that. And around that time, on the advice of a friend, I went to see a more naturopathic doctor, a holistic doctor. And he was a real turning point in my journey for me that got me to where you guys know me as today. And basically what he explained to me was that while all of the scientific Western medicine data was real and true, he explained to me that the liver is actually the organ in the body that harbors anger, resentment, frustration, and great sadness. And he told me that he was going to help me get better, and he actually started me on a regimen of herbal supplements. That was sort of my first dipping my toe into natural lifestyle, natural living, and he told me a lot of things to avoid in certain foods and products around my home that could potentially be putting an overtaxing on my liver. And he said, we want to really free up your liver from a lot of the brunt of the work that it's having to do. So we want to sort of eliminate these chemicals from your world and help your liver heal. And it's him that I credit really with getting me better, making me well. Again, I had to do the work, mind you. I had to do the work, but those explanations about that it was those kinds of emotions that were potentially making my liver ill, that was just a completely different, fascinating way for me, even as a life coach, understanding the effect that stress has on the body, that detriment of negative emotions can have on your overall wellness. And knowing that I had the tools to make it better, it took somebody saying it to me for me to really understand that. And so the long and the short of it is, I got divorced. I started the second half of my life, and I started on this journey of learning about natural wellness, and it's been a gradual journey. That was, like I said, that was 8 years ago. I am happily married now to an amazing man and an amazing partner. And our ability to talk things through and both know that we have a common goal. We may not always be in agreement on how we're going to get to that goal, because all relationships are relationships, right? Not one of them is perfect, but I'm much happier, much more satisfied in that regard. And that whole process is really what got me 4 years ago to learning about essential oils, being introduced to Young Living, and really, really solidifying that non-toxic lifestyle. Because I had started to take some steps, which, by the way, got me right out of bed better, gave me the energy to do the tasks at hand that needed to be done. But I can tell you, in the last 4 years, that clean bill of health on lab testing from all of the changes that I've made, emotionally, stress reduction. We eat organic food in our family now. We've just really perfected removing toxins from our environment. And I have seen firsthand the impact that that has had not only on my personal health and my personal wellness, but that of my family as well. So that's just a little bit of backstory, and I hope that you enjoy coming to this page and coming to the YouTube channel, and maybe now you'll understand the mission a little bit better and why I am so incredibly passionate about teaching others to do the same, helping them recognize their own stress levels, getting them out of negative environments, and really letting them thrive. Because I've got a whole second half of a lifeline that is ready to be lived, and I want to do that in the best way that I possibly can. Thanks for listening.